Welcome back to Don't Lift Off. So today we're doing something a little bit different again. Meeting up with a fella called Andy Corner. Now I've known Andy for, I've known of Andy for pretty much my whole life. My uncle, who used to be my go-kart mechanic in the early 1990s, used to be Andy's mechanic when Andy was rallying. And Andy is a farmer from Oxfordshire, and he's actually, his grandson is now embarking on a rallying career. I don't know. Well, he's starting to do rallying as a, so he looks about 14 years old or something. So I want to talk to him a little bit about that, a little bit about his rallying background, and also a bit about the plight of farmers here he is now. Yeah, it's just want to find out a little bit more about what's going on and a little bit more about Andy. So let's find out on this beautiful sunny day. Was that like a driving experience then, wasn't it? Like...
No, it was basically a TV show that wanted Heyford, the facility, and I sort of bumped into them and I arranged the marquees, I arranged the fire cover, I had the toilet blocks, and it was sort of like a week, 10 days in every month for 4 months.
Really?
So I was building the props and doing all the stuff. They'd suddenly ring me up and they'd say, you know, how do you feel about some of the presenters being set fire to, about how quick you can put them out with a fire engine?
Brilliant.
And I said, well, are they aware of this? Because, you know, I don't think they're going to appreciate it. Loads of different ideas. I abseiled off the top of a hangar with the Marines.
Oh, one of the hangars up the base?
Yeah, just at the top here. But on a setup, I actually broke my ankle, the metatarsal, the same time as what's the name did for the World Cup that time. And of course I went straight to the hospital and they said, we're going to have to put you in plaster up to the knee. And my son took me in. I could hardly walk. And I said, you can't do that. They said, why is that? I said, well, tomorrow morning I'm racing a greyhound in the rally car. There's no way you're putting me in plaster.
As in the greyhound dog?
As in the greyhound dog, yeah. I did a burnout with a Harley Davidson. We chained the car down. And it was, loads of different stuff. It was fun, but I mean, I got paid for it. And then we did I had my own Subaru Impreza at the time, and they said we want to have a good driver in a bad car, which was my Subaru apparently,
right,
and a bad driver in a good car, which was a Ferrari Enzo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What, on tarmac was this?
This was around Rockingham.
Oh, really?
And I had to race him.
Right.
And I said, well, yes, but I can't imagine you're going to put a bad driver in a Ferrari Enzo.
Right.
And no, they hadn't. This bloke was one of the test drivers. But
right.
We had some fun. I mean, I was like four-wheel drifting it all the way around Rockingham, whereas, you know, he was pretty tame. But yeah, it was. Well,
that was an amazing facility, wasn't it, Rockingham, back in the day?
It was. I'll pull up here. I did no end of rallies there, and I want to open that. Put some air in, because it was actually my the club, Tame Motor Club, that got the venue. Pete Wood, very sort of close friend of mine. Do you remember Pete?
No.
He was an instructor, very good. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago.
Was he a rally instructor?
Yeah.
Right.
Been around for a long time. Uncle Pete, they used to call him, because he was just such a gent. And he was always the chairman of the Rockingham stages.
Yeah.
But we did it a lot of times. We did it in the snow one year as well. That was quite exciting.
Really?
Yeah. Rockingham was always just that little bit different, because we used a lot of the went through the tunnel and different things like that.
Oh, did you, as part of the stage? Yeah.
So it wasn't just going around the circuit. But unfortunately, we're losing more and more venues now. A lot of the good stuff is going.
Are they still running up here? Are they still running on the base up here? So you used to do. I used to work for. What was his name?
Dream
Paul.
Days.
Well, Paul. what was it? Who
You drive.
You drive cars? That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're not there. There's nobody up there doing experience days now.
Right. Because he sold out to what's it? I want to super. Is it something car chase heroes? Chase heroes.
Yeah, they carried on for a while, but unfortunately they tried to put too much in there, and they didn't have proper planning, and it started to upset people.
Right. Tyre noise is the biggest problem, isn't it? Usually.
Yeah. So I mean, Heyford, it's a fantastic
Paul
venue.
Davies, that's who it was. Paul Davies.
I mean, going back over the years, when I used to know the boss, he used to say to me, I mean, this is going back a long time now, and he basically, whatever you want to take up there and test, you can. We're not, we're fine.
Yeah.
And I used to have people coming in with some pretty clever suspension people with other people's cars, and as long as I was present, we got away with it.
Yeah.
With the Subarus and everything. I mean, some WRCs and all sorts. But
really,
yeah. I mean, it is a fantastic venue, and it's just the other side of the fence. Which
I know, it's amazing, isn't it? I mean, well, you and I are old enough to remember the bloody planes, F111s flying up here, and
yes, I remember. I used to wind them up because I used to go up and down the fence line on my motorbike on the outside. And then I'd dive in here and I'd go up the other end, and of course they'd be chasing after who they're securing. I mean,
really?
Oh yeah, with their guns.
Oh really?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I mean, I was only a kid, and I climbed over there one day, and they were threatening all sorts of things. It's funny because the farm I'm at down there had a barn fire once before we owned it, and they opened the gates, and one of their proper fire tenders came flying through the gate.
Oh really?
To go down and
come and sort it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember going to air show up here. It's when my granddad was alive. I remember Vulcan coming flying overhead, and remember the what were they called? The Thunderbirds. Remember the Thunderbirds when they came here that year? I don't know what year that would have been. I reckon that was 86, 87, something like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember because obviously we had the other farm down there, that Heyford Road, there was solid traffic queuing all the way to get into Heyford to the air shows. And whenever we were milking the cows, not so much the day of the air show, the days before, it was hopeless because the planes, they'd be doing all their bits, and the cows, you can imagine, all hell out there.
Oh, yeah, they wouldn't like that. I suppose the cows got used to it after a amount of time, I suppose.
Yeah, but these were something else. I mean, obviously the F111s, I mean, I remember I heard them leave for the Falklands and Libya.
Yeah.
Because it all went very high secure, they put razor wire on the top. They had all sorts.
Just especially during that time, did they?
Purely for that, because they were worried about kamikaze people getting in and doing all sorts. But I mean, we had a very good relationship with the base commander because we were obviously on the boundary. I mean, there was one operation they did which was quite fun. They wanted to try and prove how secure it was, and they allowed or gave the option for all the different, it would be the Marines, the SAS, all of them, to get in there.
Right, yeah.
So what they did, they flew a load of their troops from the States in, so they didn't know the area. And we'd be down, literally down the field, and all of a sudden a load of troops would abseil off out of something. They'd be laid in the field down there in the hedges. But you wouldn't even know it's happening, and all of a sudden they go in and the SAS went in one night and painted names all over the hangar and came out, and nobody even knew they'd been in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Love it.
We got a plaque somewhere that they gave us for obviously being involved. And
right, did they come in via like the farmway or something?
Well, they just came in from every angle. They didn't care. Nobody knew who they were or where they were coming from. But they just, all of a sudden at night, they'd abseil out of a helicopter and they'd be off.
Amazing. We used to get that occasionally at Silverstone, like a helicopter turn up randomly at night. This was not myself, but I remember a friend telling me that it was just like, abseiling out of a helicopter over the BRDC campsite one night. Just
Did you see that footage I put up the other day of that?
Oh, the Chinook,
that was in.
Whereabouts was that then?
That was the other farm that I look after.
Right.
They RF Benson, they use it for training.
Right.
And they have to ring me just to basically say they're coming in.
Yeah.
And I always let them go in there. And sometimes they don't turn up because I'll often just pop along and just watch them because it is fascinating.
Yeah.
And I was in that field and I looked at the time and I thought, I better pull out of the way. And I was right behind the edge, and he came down right close to me.
Did he?
Yeah.
There's that noisy old thing, I should think,
It
that,
was.
innit?
Yeah, my hat took off across the field.
Yeah.
Because I actually went up with them one day. They used to, because they use certain farms in the area.
Right.
They then used to pick up those farmers that gave them permission, take them out to Benson, give them a lovely lunch and everything, and then fly them round over the top of their farms. And I went as a guest in a Puma.
No way.
Yeah, I was in a Puma helicopter.
Nice.
But going back a long time ago, I've still got the video somewhere. I've got to try and dig it out. My dad was chairman of the parish council, and he was invited by the base commander to come up here. And my mum didn't want to do it, so I went. And we went up in the American refuelers, refueling the F111s over the top of the sea.
No way, did you?
Yeah, and we went right down where they operate the snorkel and do all the thing. And my dad videoed the whole lot. I mean, I've got to find the footage because it'd be fascinating, because I mean, I'm going to be tiny.
Yeah.
And they were doing it on 2 days. The second day got cancelled because he got his knuckles wrapped, because he should never have done it, because it's always top secret.
Right.
So we were the only people that did it.
Wow.
There's no comfy seats. It's just like a load of bench seats in there. You just sit there, and yeah, we took off and went. Lovely experience.
Yeah, fascinating. I love all of that, actually. I was chatting with a mate of mine a couple of podcasts ago, and I mean, he's a drummer, but his dad was into planes. I think he did tell me what he did, actually, but he sort of something to do with the avionics on planes, and so we ended up having this long conversation about F111 ejector seats and talking about the time when the F111 bounced just because it lost hydraulic failure, didn't it? And it hit that must have been in your. Was that in your farm, your dad's farm?
No, it was
land,
up the top here. But basically, they dropped the fuel over Steeple Aston.
Yeah.
Over the chicken houses up there, and he landed just before, where he hit the ground just before the road.
Yeah. And then bounced over the road, didn't he?
Went across the road. Yeah. He tried to eject, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
Because I'd been away that weekend, and we came back late that night, and the road was closed, and didn't know anything about it until late that night.
Really?
But we often used to find things in the field, the red tape that said "remove before flight." Clearly, they didn't.
Not removed.
I've actually got quite a few things. I've got various military bits and pieces that we used to get from various places. I think I've got an army hat somewhere and all sorts. But look, it was good. I mean, what's going on in there now is totally different. It's filling up with houses and industrial units. There's over.
It's like how many houses are there then?
I don't know how many now, but I mean, there's over 100 businesses working from there.
Is there really?
Yeah. But here we are. Look, here's my grandson.
Is he the rally boy? That's funny.
Yes, it is. Yeah, that's my 250-pound donor car.
He can tell me about what he's been doing. So you've just come back from Pembury?
Yeah, we were at Pembury yesterday.
Right.
Yeah, that was his second event, doing the Junior Rally Championship, which fantastic opportunity for him. I wish I had the opportunity.
How you doing, pal?
You're going to have to come and say hello now.
Hello. How you doing? I'm Anthony. How you doing?
I'm good, you?
All right, thank you. I'm all right. So you just come back from Pembury?
Yeah.
Yeah? How'd you get on, all right?
Yeah, it was good. A lot of experience from it.
Bit on the track and...
Yeah.
Yeah, we did Stetson a few weeks ago, and that was my first event co-driving, which that was an eye-opener for me. I wanted to be in there just to help teach him to drive rather than do the co-driving, but to be honest, working out all the times, that's more stressful than anything. So
what was he like as a passenger?
Good on the driving side, but...
Yeah, but I wasn't reading the maps. I was looking out the windscreen. I wanted to know what was happening. It's called self-preservation. It was like looking after, adults on a rally day. But no, he's good. But it's just the same old thing. It just needs a bit of experience and a bit of time. Most of the other juniors out there, they've already done a season, so of course they know the venue, and B, they've got a little bit more experience. But it mainly is he's done 2 rallies now. He's finished both of them.
So Snet and Pembury then?
Yeah. It's Three Sisters in May, which is the karting circuit.
Right. Yeah.
I've done that before. I mean, that's quite a twisty little one. But in the little 1000cc Peugeot, it's going to obviously be a little bit of a struggle up the hills. But they're all in the same situation. And to be fair, it teaches them. you know, it's the same old thing. You can get in a car that's really powerful, but if you can drive an underpowered car, you've got to keep momentum going.
Yeah.
You know, if you lift, you lose all. Going back over the years from me rallying the Skodas,
Yeah,
it makes you understand how to drive up around a corner fast, and it's a perfect opportunity. So not too much damage, little bits here and there. But
Does it take out a few tyres?
Couple.
yeah, he seems to think that he's going to be in my car. But, you know, but the funny thing was, I mean, obviously Dan, my son, I mean, he's 30, 36, 35.
Oh.
Okay, you know, he always used to keep saying that he's going to use my car. So eventually we managed to build a car up for him that was very similar to my car.
Right.
And now I'm getting them saying they're going to be in my car. So, but I'm not giving up, not yet.
Well, I just met your dad thinking it was you, actually, because I was like, oh, yeah, you know, I was trying to work out who was it, you Andy's son? Yeah, I'm Andy's son. It's my son that's rallying. Right, okay. Trying to get my head around that one, yeah. Time is ticking.
Yeah.
Do you want to get past, mate? You want looking to come past?
Yeah.
All right, well, I can
You'll
stop
get
as
past
well.
that side.
Should do.
You're a rally driver, you'll get past.
Nice to meet you, mate.
You too.
That's funny because, like, well, I mean, I suppose for the benefit of anyone watching this, kind of how we've kind of loosely known each other pretty much most of our lives. My dad was saying, did you actually go to school with my uncles then? Were we at Bicester School, or was it just because you were kind of just local lads then?
No, I went to private school.
Did you?
Yeah. Biggest
Whereabouts was that?
Well, I went to Audley House in Chesterton.
Okay.
When I was tiny. I went to Fritwell School for a little while. Then I went to boarding school, which I could never work out. It's 5-6 miles up the road.
Right.
And I had to stay there.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
I couldn't work that out.
Yeah, that took a little while to...
And then, obviously, I went there, and then I went to another school in Tewkesbury. You know, at the end of the day, my parents did the right thing because they thought it was the right thing, because there was a farm there.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'll be honest, I hated every minute of it. Why would you want to be at boarding school when, you know...
Could be on the farm.
Exactly.
Yeah, a bit more of an outdoor boy, I suppose.
Yeah, and I was never very bright when it came to, you know, maths and English and all that sort of stuff. It was always... you know, hands-on really.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
well, some people are like that, aren't they? And you know, it's just you do what you enjoy doing.
Notice there's no wing mirrors on the car because they're now being pinched. Oh, there is one on there, but they've been pinched and put on his rally car because he had a few chicanes.
That's funny.
So 250 quid I gave for that car. It was taxed and MOT'd.
So that's the spares donor, is it?
No, that's the training car.
Right, okay.
That is the training car. But we keep looking out for various bits and pieces. But
it's funny how many farmers do motorsport, and this is the strange thing. I mean, like, so my uncles, so they just work. You said that they worked on your farm. I can't believe that. All three of my uncles worked
all
on
three
your
of
farm.
them.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I was only tiny. I mean, they used to rip the shit out of me, to be honest. Because all three of them, they were all quite interesting characters.
Were you younger than them then? Or what was the age difference?
Yeah,
you were younger?
Yeah,
right.
Younger than all of them. I mean, obviously Les was the older one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was a good few years. But of course, I'd be away at boarding school and I'd come back at the weekends. But no, they were good. And then, of course, obviously Cliff, I was very close with Cliff.
Yeah.
He used to come and help me and he'd do anything, as you know, because he used to help you.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's the strange thing. I mean, I went to the wrong farm, but yeah, and that was the last time I'd been down to your farm, and that was when you were running the Skoda. But I remember hearing, because you'd read the Banbury Guardian, you'd hear about like your heroics in the old Skoda. What Skoda was that? It was like 1980s when Skodas weren't fashionable.
When we it was the Skoda. I started off when I was 17. I think the day I was 17 and when I did a road rally, which was with a Skoda Coupe, which was the sloping back one.
Right.
And I was doing like I think the Oakleaf was my first road rally. And then I moved on to do stage rallying, which was with a Skoda S110, which was the 4-door version. I bought that from the garage in Brackley, the SK Distributors.
Right.
It had a few trick bits on it, you know, but I mean, it actually had quite a few very good bits on it, which I've still got lying around somewhere, like proper Miller-Lite wheels. I've got a close ratio box for it. Ironically, that registration of that car is XUY235R, which I remember it. That is now back on the road because the car was scrapped, but because it had history, because it was through Skoda, someone wanted to do classic rallying, and they said, could they use that registration?
Right.
I just gave it at the time. It's probably would have been worth a bit, but it's still on the road. I've done a few checks on it. It still is a rally car. And then we sort of progressed to the Skoda Estelle, which I built up. Another blast from the past, Martin Madge. Sadly, he's no longer with us. He modified the roll cage for me. I do actually still have the Skoda. It's parked up in some brambles.
Do you really?
Like, everyone says I need to get it out, but to be fair, the one I've got now is very different, because the one I did the Skoda Trophy, which was obviously the national championship in the Skip Brown. We did around the Great Hall, and we did all the different. I mean, with like the Audi Sport, some really good events. But it was very hard on the car. We did all that, and then I stopped. I think it's for a couple of years. And I went and watched an event. I decided I can't be watching it. So I then built another car, and I put the 1600 Crossflow in the back.
Okay.
Totally self-built. Literally, I put it in a workshop. It was agricultural, and everything was just made, and it was made to fit. I designed my own disc brakes on the rear, which were the same as the front brakes.
Right.
So we, you only had to have the same calipers.
Yeah.
Like the bias thing was a Lancia Beta rear compensator valve with a piece of threaded bar, so I could just adjust it to restrict it.
Yeah.
And we had so much fun with it. We went out and we did all the local stage rallies, and I never forget, we went to Dan Ampney with it, and I had a journalist sat next to me that wanted to do a feature, and I think we were lying first equal with a 3-door Sierra Cosworth on the first stage.
Really?
Frightened the life out of him. And the tyres then, I remember we were running tyres. I'd buy them secondhand for $5 each, and we just put them on. And they were the days where the results were on clothes pegs on the washing line.
Yeah.
And I always used to say that there's only two ways to be noticed, and that's either go out and win everything and do really well, which is fantastic, or a lovely idea.
Yeah.
But realistically, that they were the days when you had Charles Evesham, you had the Prues, all the top guys from around here with the serious bits of kit.
Yeah.
Or go out with something and be noticed, which was the Skoda, because people, we'd do the first few stages and we'd be like lying in the top 10 or top 5.
Yeah,
and we'd be seeded way back.
The most unfashionable thing.
It is, you had all the jokes of the skips on wheels.
Yeah,
but then you'd go to the organisers and say, look, can you move me up? Because we keep catching these cars. And they go, well, you can, as long as you ask each competitor if you can go in front.
Right.
You try walking up to somebody that's got a mega Escort or a Cosy. I mean, Cosys were the thing of the then.
Yeah.
Can I go in front of you because I'm faster than you? They don't like it because the Skoda jokes were really at their sort of peak at that time. We did loads of different things. We went to Belgium. We did the Montbard Rally Sprint. I never forget when we did the Montbard Rally Sprint. We used to have to carry a spare gearbox with us. We could change a gearbox in 35 minutes.
Really?
Yeah. Well, the engine could be out in 15 minutes. It was so simple.
Yeah.
And we used to take the gearbox out. I remember we were sat in a car park in Belgium, and we knew where the problem was. We had to take the gearbox apart. We had to make up a washer, put it in, and the French and the Belgians were arguing as to who was going to give me the coin to drill to make a washer.
Right.
It was, but it was so much fun. It really was.
Yeah. You just do what you got to do. It's interesting. I saw that sort of footage your lad with his rally car, and you teach them how to take the wheels off. I mean, us roundy boys, we don't get involved in that.
No, I mean, they're his two young brothers.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
teach them to be the stage crew then.
Well, next year they reckon the Harry, the middle one, he's 13. He reckons he's going to be doing it. God knows. I don't know how it's all going to work because we can't have that many running. But they are good. They all want to get involved and do it, and it's lovely to see that. And we've said all along, if we do the Junior Rally Championship, we want to have the juniors with guidance, of course.
Yeah.
And they are good. They really are good. They know what they're doing.
The kids are so good when they're like 14. I've sat next to a lot of Ginetta Junior kids, and you go out and you try and chase them around, and you can't keep up with them. Or if you're doing well, if you keep up with them, they're all just bloody good.
And watching, to be honest, the talent that was out there, those lads, you know, they've got to learn to keep that momentum going, because, you know, they're now learning if they slip the clutch a little bit. I know it's not ideal mechanically wise, but by slipping the clutch a little bit when they're in second, it keeps the revs up, which means they've got that little bit more push to get away.
Yeah.
Okay, you pay the price, you have to change the clutch more frequently, but you know, the cars, I was timing them off the line in a short period of time, just out of interest. And you've got the Micras, you've got obviously the little Peugeots, and I mean, there's the Up as well. They're all very similar, but they were all within a second of each other from A to B, which was nice, because there's always this worry that someone's going to do something. You know what it's like with one-man championships.
Yeah, they'll be like 20 seconds up the road.
There's
or
somebody
something,
that's, no, I was very impressed. And it's fantastic to see. But like I said, I wish there was something a bit like that when I was.
Yeah.
I mean, he is only 15.
We've got to start. Well, we just used to mess around in fields. Well, me and my uncle used to mess around in your field.
Probably, yeah.
On the old trikes. Remember the trikes?
I've still got a trike.
Have you?
I've still got a Tri-Z.
Have you? What's a Tri-Z then?
Tri-Z is the 250 motocross one that they banned in the States.
Was it with the proper dampers, is it? Remember that one that Clifford had? He had a 250 that had proper dampers. That was a Honda though, I think, wasn't it?
This was the racing ones.
Right.
It's still sat in the barn. I am renowned. I've got so many toys sat.
Can't get rid of it. That's like me and
when you've got a back issue, I mean, it's a mental bit of kit. I had somebody come off it once, and they had blood coming out their ears, which frightened me to see it. I've still got it. I wouldn't let any of my kids or my grandkids ride it.
Yeah, sounds lethal. What is it, 250, is it, you say?
Yeah. To be honest, it hasn't been used. It's going up in value. It is a classic now.
Yeah.
It's funny because it used to be my party trick, and we used to have friends over for, in the evening, barbecues or whatever. They'd always drink too much. I never did because of the tie with the cows. Occasionally I did, but not very often. So I used to say, right, I'm going to take you for a ride on the trike. So I used to sit him on the back, and I didn't go across the fields. I used to go straight along that Heyford Road. I'll admit it now because I can get away with it. I used to go rattling down that Heyford Road, and I mean, this was at midnight. They were screaming whatever on the back. I mean, it's so entertaining. And I remember I left the farm entrance one day, and literally full revs, and all of a sudden I felt the piston shatter as it came out the bottom of the engine.
No.
The engine went bang.
Were they two-stroke?
Yeah.
No.
And real screamer. So anyway, I found a second-hand engine, which I bought. And I then, in the meantime, I bought another one, identical. So I used the one that I bought.
Yeah.
And they were both in the barn, and one night someone went in and nicked one. Ironically, they nicked the one with the blown engine.
Right, okay.
So I still, to this day, have a Tri-Z engine and gearbox in a crate that came from Scotland. It's probably 20 years now that's been in that box.
Wow.
So maybe I need to market that and do something with it.
Yeah.
But the other Trike, I don't know, I'll get it out one day. I've got a lot of toys. But it's just finding the right time to...
Yeah, well, when you're so busy. Oh, well, I mean, just this time of year when everything's growing right now is like,
Yeah, I mean, I am sort of known to, I work hard, yes I do, but it's the hours, you can be a bit flexible. I do a lot of work at night. I have friends on Facebook, they always laugh because I'm always out there late at night. I am, but I work hard, I want to play hard. So I don't go out, down the pub much. Well, I can't remember the last time I did.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about the farming, and I'm passionate about my cars. I mean, I've been instructing.
I'll tell you what we should talk about. Sorry to interrupt. So we should talk about. So the thing that we spoke on the phone about 3 weeks ago.
When you stole my sponsorship. I'm happy to bring it up. Now is the time. You're sat in my tractor. I can always push you out the door there. Yes, going right back. Wayne Grant, who was Grant International, he used to live in Heyford at the bottom of the runway there. Do you remember that?
Oh, did he?
No,
so I only knew him when he was in Hampton.
You go down the dip and up the other side, the house directly at the end of the runway. That was Wayne's house.
Oh, was it? I didn't know that.
So he actually lived close to me. So he was actually, quite a good friend of mine until you came along. But no, I mean, obviously it was Grant International, and he used to come along, because his brother, Barry. Is it Barry?
I never met Barry.
Wayne. He used
That
to.
must be how he knew my granddad then. Because I know he was talking to my granddad. I remember talking to him once. He said, "Oh, he speaks my language." Your granddad, my granddad.
It was Barry Grant. Yeah, I'm sure it's Barry. He was married to obviously a lady who used to live in the village, and they used to live down here. He sadly he passed away, but of course they used to go down the social club in the village, so that's where I would always see Wayne.
Right.
And of course Wayne, I mean, you know what he was like. He was quite a high flying businessman.
Yeah, yeah. He used to do a lot of work in the States, didn't he?
Yeah, he was obviously a private detective agency, and of course I remember I used to go in there, and this was days with the Skoda. And people used to laugh at me, but I used to have so many different sponsors, and they'd all give me 30 quid cash.
Yeah.
Now, when you're running a Skoda with next to no power and, you know, tyres that are 5 or 30 quid go a long way. You know, that'd pay for the fuel to get there, and all sorts of different names. And of course, they all had, it was Callow's Food Stores.
Callow's.
John Callow.
God, I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, his name was on my car. I mean, he used to give me, I think I had sweets or chocolate instead of money. But
I think he sponsored Clifford in batteries. I just do remember that.
And again, you know, I had all these different ones, but it was fantastic because I used to borrow the Mark II Escort van as a service van, which was Callow's delivery van.
Yeah. Wow.
And of course, Wayne said, he says, you know, yeah, we'll do this. And then all of a sudden one day he said, I think we can do something bigger. And this is where really I then got into the Peugeots because he said,
is that the same Peugeot that you got in the bonnet? No. Right.
No, he basically he said, look, come to me with a proposal. And it was hard because you don't know how to hit people with a proposal for sponsorship.
Yeah, you don't.
Obviously I can build the cars, I can work on the cars, so that was a massive factor to take into it from my point of view, which meant that we didn't have to pay somebody to do it. And I remember we looked at various cars, proper Group A 205s, but they were going to take 3/4 of the budget away buying it.
Right, yeah.
And I mean, I'll be honest, I'll tell you what, he offered me £26,000 for a year's rallying, but I had to buy the car because the Skoda didn't quite have the image that he wanted.
Right, yeah.
And he was pushing, he wanted me to go abroad. He wanted me to go to Belgium, France. And because he ran his private detective agency, he wanted to use me to promote his detectives, bodyguards, whatever he had, because he had all sorts of things going on.
Did he? Yeah.
As my driving that would
promote this kind of dynamics.
We've got these bodyguards, detectives that they've got driving skills that we and that's what he wanted to do with me. I remember we going to his office with a folder. We had all these different things designed, you know, and he said, we'll do this. He said, go and buy a car. So of course, all of a sudden you go and try and find a car, and anything we looked at was too much. But I then went and found this car, Stephen Stringer, which is a name very, very well known in rallying.
No relation to Kev Stringer?
No.
Right.
No, from Kent. Sponsored. Right. He used to be sponsored by Roots Peugeot.
Right.
Lovely chap. Unfortunately, he passed away probably a couple of years ago now. In the rally world, he was very well known, very, very missed. And I bought that car. I can B113 MLX, I think, is the registration.
Right.
I do still have that car, but it's not in a good state.
Is there anything you've not kept?
No. Well, no, I will tell you another story in a minute. But anyway, so yeah, this is what we did. We went and bought the car, and I think at the time it was $5,500. And it had a lot of Skip Brown stuff done to it.
That was the 205.
This was a 205. Right. And the car was paid for by Wayne, but the deal hadn't been secured. And all of a sudden he said to me, Andy, we'd stripped the car out. He said, the deal's on hold. I went, the car's in bits now, because it was all fully functional.
Yeah.
So we just put a sheet over the car and left it sat there.
Yeah.
And I then went to see Wayne a couple of times, and as I was coming out one day, who walks in with a trophy in his hand?
Did I have a trophy?
You did have a trophy. And I thought, Oh yeah.
Oh.
You're into karting, and of course Cliff, bless him, he was your uncle.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll
and
blame it on Cliff. Let's blame it on Cliff.
Yeah, let's blame it on Cliff. No, we can't blame him. He's not here, bless him. But he always, I know he was really passionate about helping you, and I know that.
Yeah.
And to be fair, you were quick. You might probably still are. But we're probably not good in the rally
The older
car.
I am, the faster I was.
Yeah. So I was convinced that that's why my sponsorship deal landed up on hold. And to be fair, it didn't continue.
Well, I wish I'd have got 20 grand out of him. I'll say that. No, well, I'll do was it was 3 grand, and it took my mum in the end to go to his bloody go to his office under the name Mrs. Smith to say, Mr. Grant, you promised my son some sponsorship about a year ago.
Right.
And so, yeah, here's a check. So my mum turns up at the garage and hands me a check. So I've got your money. I was like, thank you.
Right.
Like,
well, I used to go in, because he used to have that house with the big bank, didn't he, with the field?
yeah.
I went over there rabbit shooting.
Right.
And fortunately, we got stuck and we left all these ruts in his field. And I thought, he's got this fantastic view in the morning. He's going to see all these ruts and everything else. But no, we used to go over.
Sorry. Yeah, you were.
Yeah, so I used to shoot his rabbits and stuff, and the sponsorship, it didn't carry on. But to be fair, he said, just keep the car.
All right.
Which was lovely, but the car was in bits, and I didn't really have the money to put it back together.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the money to run it, because obviously, but you know, it sat there for a few years, and then I remember we decided to put it back together, but in a very simple way. And I went and did Dan Ampney, first event ever in front wheel drive, and it was a lovely car, but it was a real screamer. It basically, the power band was 5.5 to 8.
Oh, really?
Anything below 5.5, it was no good.
Right. So you just keep revving the hell out of it.
Cam was the nickname was the French Screamer.
Right.
But the problem was, it was obviously a 5-speed close ratio box, and first was very tall, fifth was low, so everything was all together, which was lovely.
Right.
But we used to just run out of puff on the straights.
Right.
We went and did down Ampney, and I think we were lying way down the line, because I'd never driven front wheel drive. Obviously,
Was the Skoda rear wheel drive then?
Skoda was rear wheel drive.
Ah,
Engine
right.
was in the back.
Right.
And then I totally changed my driving style. I started throwing it around, using the handbrake, being a bit flamboyant, and all of a sudden we just climbed up. But unfortunately, the crank snapped.
Right.
It still ran, but the crank was in 2 bits. So we parked it back up again. So it sat there for a long time. Then, obviously, I still had the Skoda anyway, so I still sort of messed around, did a few bits with that. We then decided we wanted to do the RAC Rally in 1996.
Right.
And
Would that have been when it came like through Blenheim, and where would it? Sort of
no,
Hampsterley direction.
96. I never did do it when it came through Blenheim, but 96 when it started in Chester, and it went straight up to Kielder. And that was just an adventure in itself, because everything was in bits, and we started putting the car together. We had someone that said they was going to run the car for us on the event, and then all of a sudden they said no, they wouldn't be able to get everywhere with the car, or to mechanics, so we had to drag in some friends. Ed, who's been a very loyal friend to me, mechanicking, and anyway, we were literally chasing sponsors. There was a guy, I think I had about 25 sponsors on the car.
Yeah. Like 50 quid each or 100 quid each or whatever.
Well, we pushed a little bit more, because what we did, I went to all the people that supplied the farm. And what I did was I'd get bale string, I'd get silage wrap, and then I'd get my dad to pay for something, because he's had the material.
Yeah, that's the best way. Yeah.
We had
Contra deal. Yeah.
Yeah, there was one company that did put a new sewer drain all the way through the village.
Yeah.
And he said, if you give me a good report, write to the council to say that we were really good and courteous, I'll give you 300 quid or something or other. So we had Sewers UK across the car.
Right. Yeah.
And then loads of different ones, and but the unfortunately the chap that had the engine, he was ill with a virus that they didn't know what it was. And a week before the rally, we still didn't have the engine.
Right.
We went to Scotland. My dad and I, we drove to Kilda for the day to do the notes, and we did all that, and we came back, and we got the engine in, we got it running, and we went and did the rally. That was an adventure in itself. We had a lot of problems. We drowned out in Trentham Gardens, and we were there for 45 minutes in a water splash, basically.
No.
In the dark.
Ugh.
And we knew we'd gone OTL. But we got it going, and we went to Donington. We did Donington. We split the radiator there. That was the last stage before Parc Fermé. And yeah, we were OTL. So we'd accepted that we were out of it.
Over the limit? Is that like over the time limit?
Basically, yeah,
right?
we'd had
Over
too
time
much
limit.
lateness.
Yeah.
So we said, well, look, put it in Parc Fermé. It's safe. We were absolutely shattered because none of us had been asleep. And we went back to my co-driver's house, Jill Cotton and John, in Chester, and all my service crew had a few drinks and whatever, and a bit fed up and everything, as you are. And I remember my dad got a phone call, because I don't know why they had his number, in the middle of the night, to say, can we be at the start in the morning, because we'd be given a new start time.
Yeah, right.
We'd gone OTL, but what it was Martin Brundle did I think I'm sure it was Martin Brundle, he did the RAC that year.
Right.
And because we all got stuck in the snow, literally, it was a blizzard, they moved the lateness time to get him in as a celebrity.
Yeah, and so it had a knock-on effect to everyone else
I think,
as well.
one of the only privateers that actually got it back in.
Right.
Most of the others were still... And yeah, we were right at the back, obviously, and we carried on. We finished the event.
Ah, proper.
That was in '96. '97, we put the entry in, and I remember I was on the reserve list, and I got the phone call from the RAC. Obviously, the rally was in November. I was doing Jersey in the Skoda, which was my first year. I did Jersey in the Skoda, and I got the phone call from the RAC to say that we're on the reserve list. We wouldn't be getting a run, which was a bit crazy. And I said, well, why are we on the reserve list? And they said, oh, you need to get a bit more experience, which was absolutely ridiculous, because I'd already done it in '96. We'd finished it, which was the year of all the ice. And I think there was only 30 odd people finished or something stupid then.
Yeah, really.
And yeah, we didn't do it. We just said, no, okay, it's not happening. And then I put another entry in 2000 to do it, and we were a fifth reserve.
Right.
And normally they'll always run 5 reserves.
Right.
In all the years of me following it, watching it, and being involved, they always ran 5 reserves. So when we left here, we were still 5th reserve. When we got to, I think that was Chester, we got to number 1 reserve.
Right.
We had all the sponsors' money, we had everything in place, accommodation, and they got doing scrutineering, number 1 reserve. So it was the only car there that was obviously the reserve. Halfway through scrutineering, they came up and shut the bonnet, and I said, well, what have you done that for? He said, we've decided we're not running any reserves. I said,
Right.
how can you do that? He said, well, we can, and we are.
Well.
I said, but why? He said, well, because we're being told we're not running.
Right.
So I was the only competitor there that didn't get a run.
Yeah. Yeah.
I literally lost the plot, to
I
be
bet
honest,
you did,
because
yeah,
the
yeah.
money, I mean, emotionally, I mean, it was draining, because we dragged all this money together. I'd spent the sponsors' money. It's one thing starting a rally and not finishing, because that's the way it goes when someone sponsors it. But to actually not get a start and someone sponsored you, I was literally thinking, God, I've got to give everyone's money back.
Yeah, and now you spent it on getting the car ready.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the accommodation was booked. In the end, I put the car on a trailer. I didn't even go to the accommodation. We just left.
Right.
They wouldn't even give my service crew any free tickets to go and watch.
Yeah.
And it took them a long time to get our entry back. I went down to the MSA and I went in and saw one of the officials there, Malcolm Neal. I remember going down. And I said, I'll be honest, never again. I'm never going to give them the opportunity to, because it demonstrated we were there to just make up the numbers.
Yeah.
And the bit I found the hardest over the years, and this goes back a long time, where we're sat now, this has been used for a stage rally.
Right.
For North Oxon, for Aylesbury, and the Hella stages. And we've never charged any motor club any money. We used to let them come through, which then gave revenue to the MSA, because they obviously got paid for the registrations and all the official stuff.
Mm.
And I could never work out, it'd be different if I was someone that was totally fresh, but I'd done the national championship.
Mm.
I'd been right through. I was an instructor. What more do you need to do? I remember him saying, go to Pentia Ricola's Rallier School and get some lessons, or go and win your class in a national rally, and you should get a drive. And
Right.
I said, but I'm then beating semi-works people.
Yeah.
You can't just get that overnight.
Mm.
So I said then, never again. And it's funny because we were only talking yesterday about whether I should put an entry in for this year's Lombard RAC or the Rally GB, which is the one at the end of the year. But I don't know. I just don't know if I really want to go down that. I'd love to, but
It'll be your grandson that'll be
don't. I know. Yeah.
TikTok.
Yes. Yeah, it is. Yeah, he's 15, so we've got a little way to go. But he's adamant he's going to be doing all these different things. But no, fair play but he just needs to get a good job.
Yeah. Go and find the sponsors. That's the key, isn't it? Go and find someone to support him. But he's got enough area to run around here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just knowing what to do. I mean, we've had several sponsorship deals offered to us, but there's lots of promises out there. They never materialise, and I've seen so many people. They'll remortgage their house. They'll do all sorts of stupid things just to be up there with the same. But it's a different league. You've got to. I'd love to run an R5. I believe me, it would be fantastic. We looked into hiring one just for an event. It's silly money.
Yeah.
And like I said, I got my Tommy Mack and Evo 6. I could sell that and throw that into the pot, and I could sell my Fiesta. I could sell my 205. All these things, but where's it really going to go?
Yeah, you've got to. It's got to be worth doing.
It's not buying it. It is. I like being the underdog out there. I like to go out and give people a good run for their money. And it's something we've always done. And I think at the end of the day, the most important thing is you've got to remind yourself you're out there for fun.
Yeah, you're out there to
yes,
enjoy
we'd
it.
all love to become a works driver and do this, that. That was our dream. But it's not going to happen unless you've got... Talent does come into it massively. Of course it does. But as you know, having been around a lot of circuit boys, you've got to have some serious money behind you.
Yeah, you absolutely have.
And it's trying to convince these people that you are that. And it's just happens to be the right place at the right time. And I know a lot of people, very, very talented drivers, that I know that they would be at the top, but they're never going to be able to fund it.
Yeah. Talking about being able to fund it, so that kind of brings us nicely onto running your farm, which is obviously what you've been doing. So how many generations of farmer are you? So your dad was a farmer before yourself?
I'm third. Obviously, Dan, they'd be fourth, and then grandkids would be fifth.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I suppose I could say I'm fourth really, because obviously my grandfather was a doctor, but it sort of came through from the family there. Right. But yeah, I mean, moving on to farming, that's just another chapter now.
Well, that's why I wanted to speak to you, just to find out, because for a short period of time I lived up in Yorkshire, and I lived on a farm, and prior to doing this I thought I'd just speak to a couple of local farmers, one that's not far around down the road in Rollright, and the ones up in Yorkshire. So tell me what you've got in terms of challenges, or where you're at the moment, because I've just seen on Facebook been going down to, I'm assuming driving down the motorway in your tractor to go and protest.
No, we can't go on the motorway. That's breaking the law.
Right,
I'll be honest, I'm very tempted next time because why not? If you can't beat them, join them. Yeah, it's. I mean, I'll be honest with you, and I've said to you before, I don't understand all the politics. I'm not a politician, or I'd never claimed to know everything. All I know is, I'm very passionate about the farming. I wanted to be able to move it on to my grandchildren and my kids. But it's not just me. There's a lot of other people out there that, like you were saying earlier on, people, they don't own the land, they're tenant farmers.
Yeah.
They're affected just as much. And we're all affected in various different ways. And it is so wrong what they're doing, because...
Well, tell us what have they done that's affected you then?
Basically, what they've now announced is that we've got to pay inheritance tax on the farm. So, for instance, if I was to die tomorrow, I can afford to die tomorrow. That's the stupid part. As from, I think it's next April, we're sort of like a year down the line.
Yeah.
If I die then, anything over the figure that they've said, which I can't even remember what it is now, we'll have to pay 20%, which would be a big figure. I'm probably looking £250,000-300,000. My family would.
So it would be your kids that would have to pay that money.
To pay that.
Yeah.
But the bit, again, hopefully I will be around for a lot longer. So with the sheer rate of inflation, everything will go up in value in inflation, just worth more, because everything just does this as a sliding scale. They haven't even said that they will move that with it. So, for instance, if my farm now was worth, I don't know, 3 million, for instance, in a few years' time, 10 years' time, it's going almost certainly should be worth more.
Yeah.
But their figure isn't going to go with it. But the difference is, we'll happily pay tax. I'll pay tax all day long, and I do pay tax. Not a lot at the moment because I don't make any money. But the tools that we've got, which is our land, they want us to pay tax, or them to pay tax on that when they receive it.
Yeah.
So all that's going to do is make it smaller, because I can't think, okay, I'll keep putting money aside and saving it, so when they get it, there's enough money there to pay the tax. It's not going to happen, because the farm, they can't do it. So
what would they have to do then in order to pay that money? If they wanted to receive it
they'll have to sell.
They have to sell a certain percentage of the land,
which will kill it. Because I only farm 150 acres. I farm 150 acres of another farm, very similar situation. But it's just not enough there. And of course, if you've got the property that goes with it, the house or whatever, that all goes into things. And of course, obviously, all the machinery that's in there.
So the value of like a big farmhouse, for instance, is going to be...
Yeah, that'll all go into it.
Yeah.
I'm fighting this, to be honest, as much for my parents. Neither of them are alive now.
And the machinery as well, is that included as all part of it?
Yeah.
So it's not just the land, it's machinery, buildings...
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
Obviously the machinery was always in it anyway, but of course, so you're almost going to have to pay for that anyway. Like I said, I don't understand the whole thing of it. I understand as much as I need to know.
My understanding, just a brief understanding, it is just a brief, just listen to one podcast. The understanding is that it was kind of always on the table for previous governments to be able to look at it, but only this government have decided to activate it.
Yeah, when my mum passed away, I lost my dad quite a few years ago. My brother and myself, she was partners in a certain amount, and we received the rest of obviously what she had. We had to have somebody come out that checked the land to check that we were farming it, rather than have it full of horses or something that wasn't directly farm, so we could get the tax relief on that.
Mm-hmm.
That obviously will be totally out the window. It's just, you're paying it regardless.
Right.
And the worrying thing now is they're now saying they can't afford to basically live, particularly people that are ill, they can't afford to live beyond next year's time. Because if they're ill, and this is where, unfortunately, the suicide rate, everything is all just...
Is it high amongst farmers,
very
suicide
high.
rate?
It is very high. There's different people cope with different things, but there's so much pressure. There really is so much pressure. And there's the standing joke. You never see a poor farmer. There's bigger states. There's bigger states that will be able to cover this. They'll be able to do it. But the smallest farms, the people that have just kept coming along through the family, we don't want them to all be the big farms. Why shouldn't we be the smaller farms? Pounds per acre, I probably make more money than a lot of farms because I don't employ anybody. I do pretty well all mechanics myself. All my kit is older, so it's
bought and paid for.
I mean, this tractor we're sat on now, I gave, I don't know, 12 years ago, I gave £16,500 for it. It's probably now worth £26,000.
It's funny how it goes up in value. It's amazing.
But equally, if I was to sell it, the cost of the new tractor is
it would just be astronomical.
Way up there. So all my kit is paid for as well.
So your only choice would be to go and lease something then. Yeah, which is adding to your monthly costs.
Yeah, you wouldn't. But all my tractors. I mean, this is 22 years old. This tractor. I've got a few old tractors, so I just, like I said, I keep maintaining them. But they're bought and paid for. But I just couldn't. The thought now of having machinery that's all borrowed, big expensives, I couldn't sell all my tractors and buy one brand new tractor. I just couldn't do it. It wouldn't work. The cost, it just, and this is where people just don't understand that we're pushed now into a corner to try and produce everything. We're getting less money than we were 10 years ago.
And what's this about this payment that's been reduced? It's something about wilding payment. What was it?
Well, you've got the SFI payments, which was...
So what does that stand for? What's that? The hell is that all about?
Well, we had the subsidies where we got paid X amount per acre. We got that even if we farmed it and cropped it.
Yeah.
That gradually, I think, going back when I first started, well, that sort of, 15, 12 years ago, I think that was something like £16,000. We used to get that beginning of every year. And to be honest, that's what kept farmers going, was that subsidy payment.
And the subsidy was so to make British farms competitive with the cheaper foods from overseas. Was that the idea behind that?
Yeah, I guess it was. I mean, I never really worked out why. It was sort of something that just rolled in from when we sort of carried on the farm from my parents. But then they obviously said that it's going to get reduced each year, which it has. I think it's now probably down to about 4,000, probably less than that, and it's dropping all the time. So they then introduced this new one, which is the SFI, where we look at each field and we say, well, okay, it's got X amount of trees. That's a tick. We get that, and the hedges there. So it's got good hedges there rather than no hedges. So that's a figure. And then if you've got land that isn't very productive, you could put it into wild bird feed, and that's in for like 3 years.
So sort of rewilding, is that it's kind of an eco
basically
payment? Right.
I didn't go into any of those. I've got one field that isn't very good, but I didn't want to. I'm determined to try and farm it because that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Because the difference is
then
now,
that grows food.
Exactly.
Is that the deal?
Whereas before we would get that field there is field of wheat. We would get X amount of subsidy, regardless the fact that as long as you're growing a crop on it, we'd get that.
Yeah.
So you get the crop payment and you get the subsidy.
Yeah.
Whereas now you have to put it into wildflowers, so you're not getting a crop return. So that's what we get from the SFI.
So you're kind of relying on the government payments to pay.
Yeah, and there are some farms that obviously they have to have contractors in. Some of their land's not so good. They've done this. They've put in a big area to get it's a guaranteed income. for not, they don't get a massive amount, but equally their outlays aren't there because they're not spending it. And I was contemplating doing some, because there's some land that I have which is very wet. And then all of a sudden now what they're saying is any that are in the system, they will honour for however long, and I don't know, it's 3 years or whatever it is. But anyone else was going to put an application in that hasn't, it's abolished. It's gone. History. And I know quite a few people that were in the process of they've probably paid professionals, because not all farmers are going to do this themselves. They're not going to do the paperwork. There are professionals out there. It's not a cheap exercise. And they would have already started this, about to present it, and all of a sudden overnight the government, literally, we got an email from DEFRA saying no more. So that's it. It's changed. They say they're going to come back with something else, but we all know it's not going to be better. Yeah. Because they wouldn't have taken away what they've given us so far.
Yeah. So it gave you no notice about doing it. Just suddenly just stop the payments.
Yeah. And to be honest, they're trying to hit us from every angle, really. There was a bit of a scare that last week. We thought that the budget was we were led to believe they might be getting rid of red diesel.
Yeah.
Which is half the price of white diesel. And if they did that, to be honest, it became over for us, because you just could not do it.
So it's like at the peak of this time of year, when I'm seeing on Facebook you going down to their houses of parliament. Well, tell us about that, actually, because I would quite like to have come down. And in fact, I might do that at some point.
I think you might have to fight my grandson, because he does come with me. But I mean, there's arguments. Are we doing the right thing? In my eyes, yes, we are. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it. We need to show our presence all the time. We need to keep on at them. But it's not necessarily the Prime Minister. It's more the local MPs, because they're the ones that are sort of further down the line. And if they keep going and saying they're not happy, but I mean, again, I don't know the figures, but I'm told, and please, I might be totally wrong, but I think that, like the local MPs, they're on some stupid amount of money, because now they're the local MP. Why are they going to fight to get the Labour government out when they're on good money for a guaranteed 4 years, 5 years, or whatever it is?
Yeah.
So it's going to take a certain person to actually say no. I do, and I'm not bothered if people voted for Labour. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. Everyone can vote whoever they want. But people voted for Labour because they understood that Labour were going to do what they said they were going to do. Surely. Yeah. Why would you vote for someone that you think they're just going to go and randomly change it?
That's the theory, isn't it? Yeah.
So wake up a little bit and think, Labour haven't done what they said they were going to do. They lied. They have lied.
In what way? What was it they said they were going to do, and what haven't they done?
Well, look what they've done with all the old people. They've taken, obviously, all their allowances away. There's a massive thing that they're hitting everybody. Some of the benefits. I don't even know the whole list. There's an awful lot more, and I'm sure people will see this and think, well, you're not quite right in what you're saying. I might not be totally right.
Well, all you can say is kind of how it affects you, can't you?
There is a famous video out there of Keir Starmer saying, we cannot make farmers lose their farms. What's he doing?
Yeah.
And this isn't just about the farmers fighting for. We are fighting for ourselves, but to be honest, now we're fighting for this country, because it's about time people bloody stood up to it. Because the farmers won't do this alone. We'll never do it alone, because there's not enough of us. We have a strong, obviously, input because of the food. But unfortunately, a lot of people, all they want to do is see cheap food, because if they haven't got the money, they're going to have to buy cheap food.
Yeah.
But if we've got the strength as a farmer to put it across and to help demonstrate and explain, hopefully, the way I see it, we don't want to fall out with the public. We don't want to be going around stopping people driving in supermarkets and all these different things, because we don't want to piss the public off. We want the public to be behind us. And to be fair, all the trips I've done, I've only had 2 or 3 people that are very negative. But I don't care. They're probably negative about everything in life. in all honesty.
And you said the police have been pretty.
The police have been
good.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, from our point of view, don't take the piss because they've got their job to do. I did get told off in London because I was driving the tractor and I was filming with my phone, officially.
Because that's lethal during the speed that tractors do. Well, yeah, I know what you mean. It's yeah.
Yeah, I've done some.
Is that the best thing they could do?
I haven't, and I will be honest.
You should have seen me on a trike in the 80s.
Well, trouble is when they pull you over and you go, well, the years ago they pull you over in a car. You go, I'm a rally driver. I know what I'm doing. You don't say that. It used to get me into shit anyway. So you certainly don't say that. But I'll be honest. Yeah, I haven't paid the congestion thing. I have no intention of doing that. Out of principle, I'm not giving them any more money. But no, the police have been very good. Again, I mean, I went for an MOT one day with my van or something or other in a Vosa place, and of course you get talking, and he said, "I'm sorry." He says, "I can't talk about this because I work for the government."
Right. Yeah.
I can tell who's with us. We're not being unreasonable.
Yeah.
We're not asking for something that really isn't unreasonable.
You're trying to protect something that's been here for generations.
All that'll happen, it'll be a load of foreign people, as in investors, that will be buying. There is.
I hear that's what's been happening. A lot of
there
investors
is so
have been buying
much behind this. There's the land grab now. If I this field here, for instance, if I the government could come along now. This is how I understand it. It's how it's going to be, and they could say we are buying that field. Whether you don't want to sell it, we're buying it for development, but we're going to pay you agricultural value.
Right. So rather than development value, how does that affect you? What sort of difference is that going to be?
Stupid money.
So you can buy something for like what, 10 grand that's for development would be worth
10, 15 grand maybe. Oh, and then I mean that will be millions.
Yeah. So like 10.
Yeah, so some people will sacrifice some of their land because they need the money.
Yeah.
For development, but to be forced to sacrifice it and not even get the money, if a farmer came to me now and said, "Well, I'm going to buy that land off you to farm it," and I go, "Well, I don't want to, because I want to farm it," but that's really what they're effectively doing. I mean, we got a classic sat next to us in there. I mean, the other side of that fence, there's thousands of houses going in. I once said to the director up there, I said, "I'll tell you what, take the fence down, take my 150 acres, I'll make a load of money and I'll go somewhere else." His words at the time, "You're 20 years too early." Now, I wouldn't even want to do that because I know
you're not going to get the
I'm not going to get the uplift that I should get for it.
Yeah. Has that changed then? When did that rule
Well, that's what's coming in.
Oh, okay, so it's not in there yet.
No, this is what's coming in now.
Right, so they're hitting you from
this
from all
is where
angles,
the land grab comes in. They
so you got
clearly,
income tax reduced. Was it SFI? Did you say?
Yeah.
And then the compulsory purchase of lands. There's three angles of attack.
See, the other one is solar panels.
Right.
I mean, a lot of there is money there, but it's not. But again, these investing companies, they've got no intention of us being self-sufficient in production of what we do. They just let it come in. There's all these different greening things and different things they have to put in and everything. I don't understand all that. One day somebody else might sit down and explain it to me. I haven't got the time to take it all on board. I'm not just driving around the countryside just for a jolly. Trust me, I'm not. I'm very passionate. I'm doing it for my kids, my grandkids, and probably as much as anything for my parents that are no longer with me, because they work bloody hard to get what we've got. And I'm not going to give in. And some aren't interested in doing it. They are, but behind the scenes, they don't want to go to the effort of demonstrating. I understand that. If they don't want to, I will do. And I'll be honest. I was diagnosed with prostate cancer just over a year ago, and it's made me think massively. Okay, they tell me they can cure it, it's treatable. I don't know what's around the corner. I take every day now as it is, and it's making me think, because yeah, it's a horrible situation to be in. It does hit you hard. It hits you like a bloody train. Of course it does. But I'm learning to deal with it. I've had no treatment. There will be treatment. But at the moment, they're monitoring it. Well, I can get a few things sorted. I've had a half knee replacement. But
Half knee. Is there anything that you haven't? And you,
to be honest,
I'm knocking you. You shouldn't your cherry picker. I'm living.
Yeah, I rolled the cherry picker as well. I mean,
sorry, we didn't get on camera. Andy telling me about rolling his cherry picker.
Yeah, I did some
broke his back.
I don't know. Yeah, I've had
There's definitely a country song in here somewhere.
I've had a few things. People reckon I've got 9 lives, and I'm probably using them up quite quickly. I've had a few. But saying that though, I mean, I go in and I fill in the forms when I'm at the hospital, and you look down and you think, well, yeah, I've had a few things, but to be honest, nothing compared to a lot of people. But yeah, I won't lie, the cancer is the hardest, because the word comes up. I went public with it. That's why I'm happy to talk about it now. When you get that call, and they found it by mistake, but anyone that's watching this, I strongly advise them to get checks. But you know, there's 2 ways. I mean, they said I can go straight in, I can have surgery, I can have all these different things.
It's the PSA is a simple blood test, first of all, isn't it? It's literally
PSA is a simple blood test.
I've just had it done myself, just because I've just turned 50, and it was literally phone the GP. GP says, go down the local hospital, book yourself in, waited there 20 minutes, had the PSA test, it was a blood test, and then they go through, what it was.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm now having one every 3 months. I'm on the system. I've got, I can pick the phone up. I can talk to the consultant whenever I like. They gave me 4 or 5 different options. We've decided to monitor it because I was having my knee replacement, because if I had any cancer treatment, they wouldn't do my knee operation, because obviously your resistance isn't good. So I've got options, but at the moment I'm monitoring it. Dealing with it. I'll be honest, it's tough, because I have to have an MRI just before Christmas, and so I then have to wait over the whole Christmas period to get the result. Where obviously I'm only just over 12 months down the line now. I won't lie, there's good days and there's bad days, and it does mess with your head.
Yeah.
But I am positive. I've got friends. I've had an awful lot of people message me when I first announced it. I was shocked by the messages, and I didn't announce it for sympathy or anything like that. I just wanted to share my experience of how they found it, which was total mistake, really, just by chance. But to be honest, I wake up every day, I make the most of every day, and I intend to, but I certainly am letting the government take what I've got and what I want to hand over, because it's, like I say, it's going to be a bit of a battle. I don't know.
Well, you got a battle on your hands, and it's like, I mean, it's like, they're here for at least another 4 years. Well, unless something happens.
I think now, this is my personal thought, is yes, they might well be here. I think they're going to completely destroy everything that we did have going that was good. But all I can hope is that the public will stay with us. And like I said, we're not just fighting this for the inheritance tax now. We're fighting this for, the military widows. They're now having to pay tax. It's massive, massive effect. I know they've got to get their money back. I mean, let's face it, when we had COVID and they started giving all the handouts, it was going to have to come back from somewhere.
Yeah.
It was going to have to come back. But
you can get money by building things.
Exactly.
By creating things.
And all I can hope
there's a difference
is that
there.
People will see, like I said, if they voted Labour, doesn't bother me in the slightest. I really don't care. But think why they voted Labour, and Labour aren't doing what they said they were going to do.
Mm-hmm.
So why would you want to go for somebody? You might as well just put a pin on any name, because and let's randomly see what they're going to do to us. But we'll see.
Well, I wish you the best of luck with it. I mean, this podcast is primarily about, motor racing. And I've kind of, on purpose let it be hijacked by something I suppose I feel passionate about. And is hijacked not right? It's probably not the right word, but it's like, I just wanted to find out where things were from, why are you getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning? Because it's literally been getting up. Is that what it is? It's like getting up at the crack of dawn. How do you get down to do you go on the A40 or something? How do you
straight
get
down the A41?
A41,
and the thing is, traffic, once you get sort of towards Aylesbury Way, really, we don't hold the traffic up. The traffic holds us up.
Right.
I mean, there was one incident on the last time. I'll say it now because I've done it and got away with it. But going into
Tell me it drives. If I was driving across fields.
No, I wasn't going across the field. No, not at all. I mean, my tractor is quite recognisable. It's got wooden cows on it. It's got Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves' heads coming out of his backsides, and we've got the famous.
You had Farage doing a speech on the trailer, didn't you, or something?
Yeah, well, we met up for there was a bit of a thing where they did a demonstration. Farmers for Action, they've been, there's all sorts of different groups. I don't understand the politics of all the groups. I'm learning a bit more about it, but all I'll say is if anyone from the groups is watching this, for Christ's sake, unite. Let's not bicker over the different groups as to who should be or who shouldn't be. We're all in this for the same reason. And it's something we've got, because the weak point we've got, or any government's got, is if they've got disagreements in-house.
Well, you divide and you get conquered. It's exactly the same bloody message for reform at the moment. If they're actually going to make any headway, they've got to sort their shit out.
Yeah, they have. But no, we went into London and we were running a bit late, as a couple of us, because we all sort of meet up in different places, and we came across this blooming great long line of traffic. And I thought, I'm not sitting in this. And I rang the guy behind me. I said, look, are you up for doing something that we perhaps shouldn't do? And he said, you know me. And is that you?
No, that's you.
I don't know what that is. So anyway.
It's the Chinese government listening.
Yeah. I'll put it in writing if they want. And anyway, we just decided we'd pull out past all the stationary cars. And that is. And I must admit, when I was doing it, it reminded me of when I was doing the RAC rally, where we're trying to get back into Chester to the finish, and there's thousands of cars, public, and we've got obviously a time to get there, otherwise we go OTL. And the police used to lead us down the paths on the wrong side of the road, break every law, but the police used to, and I mean, these going back obviously over the years. I used to run management cars for people, and we used to do all sorts. I remember driving down what I thought was a little lane. It wasn't, it was a towpath. We went down alongside of a canal. That was around Chester.
No way.
But anyway, so that, and so I thought, well, if we could do it in rally cars and get away with it, why can't I do it in a tractor?
Yeah.
So there we were on the wrong side of the road, past all these parked cars, just kept going. If we met a car, we're bigger than them, they moved over. And to be fair, most of the cars, they just acknowledged us, and we got to the end, and there's a set of traffic lights, and we went round the red traffic lights and ran around about and carried on into London.
Awesome. Allegedly.
Yeah, we didn't do it. We thought about it.
Yeah, excellent.
No, we didn't do it. No, I'm not admitting to anything. No. Like some of my speeding antics no, we don't do that. It's all on private road.
Brilliant. That's a great way to end it.
It is. When the trim came off my Evo 6 at 160 miles an hour, and I had to reverse a long way down a private 3-lane road to go and get the roof trim off of it. Yeah. One other one, which is this. I've got to add this one in, because when obviously I talk about the cancer and all the different things, and you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and we are only here.
I forgot you don't give a fuck anymore, do you?
No, I do. I'll do anything for anybody. I really will. I'll help anybody out. And people watching this that are friends on Facebook, they see the stuff. If someone stopped on the side of the road with I'll help anybody. It's just the way I am. My dad was the same, and I'll do it. And I know my son would do the same, and my grandchildren would probably do it all the same. But when I was working down at ProDrive, I mean, that was a fantastic experience. We were on the test track and everything. And we did a day for, it was for Peugeot, for a group that were there, and the winner was he won a Peugeot car. So he was, quite competitive. And we had to narrow it down in the numbers. Sorry. And Richard Burns was coming in to do the final selection from the top 5. And of course he turned up with his PA, and they said, well, we've got the last 5, you've got to sit in with them and score them. He says, well, I'm not doing that.
2 words, fuck that.
Yeah, sorry. He said, why am I going to sit in there? I've got a World Rally Championship to go and win.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting next to anybody that I don't know.
Yeah.
So ironically, I landed up sitting in with them. He was sat in the grandstand. He was scoring in from the outside, I was scoring from the inside, and we came up with pretty well the same score. And look what happened to him.
Yeah.
So it just shows, you just enjoy
live it for each day.
every moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, mate,
Well,
thank you
I
again
hope
for
I've
spending
given you
your
the
time.
information you want.
No, it's not information. I just wanted to hear from you. Really, I just wanted to just talk to you and find out what it's about. There's something that makes you get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go down and hear it from the horse's mouth. That's the whole point of doing it. So yeah.
Yeah, and I hope anyone that watches this, they understand it. Or some people might like it, some people might not. But yeah, you've had a fair bit of life history with me.
Yeah,
there's an awful lot of other things as well.
Yeah.
So,
we'll talk about that when we switch the camera.
Yeah.
Top man.
All right.
Cheers, Andy. Thanks, man.
Right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And these brilliant people, I'm just going to get in front of this tractor. Hope this isn't going to be a bit of a Tiananmen Square moment. Look at that. Stop killing the people who feed you. What an amazing moment.